Hey, what's up? Are you trying to grow your church, but you're not exactly sure how to get the word out or exactly what to focus on or what some of the strategies are for church growth? Well, in this video, we're going to be talking about what are the factors for church growth, and we'll actually break down a framework that you can use in order to attract new people to your Sunday morning services coming up. Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Chris Abbott, but all my friends just call me Abbo. And on this channel, we are talking about practical ways that we can use social media and technology in order to grow our church and reach new people for Jesus. So let's dive in and talk about what some of the factors are for church growth and exactly what you need to focus on at your church in order to attract new Sunday morning visitors. So years ago, there were two expeditions that set out in order to conquer the South Pole. No one had ever been to the South Pole before, and so two different leaders led two different teams on a race to the South Pole. Right? And they had two different strategies. The weather can be extremely unpredictable down at the South Pole. And so one team said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take advantage of the natural rhythm of the weather patterns down there. And whenever we have a really nice day, we're just going to march as long as we can, and we're going to take as much ground as possible. And then on the days where we have blizzard conditions and the weather's really crazy, we're actually going to hunker down. We're going to stay in our tents. We're going to rest and conserve our energy. The second team said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get up every single day, and no matter what the weather is, we're going to march 20 miles. And so even if the sun is shining and the weather's perfect and we get through 20 miles and it's lunchtime, we're going to stop, we're going to set up camp, and we're going to chill out for the rest of the day. Vice versa, when they woke up and it's blizzard conditions and things are crazy, they're going to get up, they're going to march 20 miles in the blizzard anyway, even if it takes them all day long. So which team do you think made it to the South Pole first? Well, the second team, the one that decided to march 20 miles every single day, no matter what the weather was, that team actually made it first, was able to plant their flag, be the very first expedition team to ever make it to the South Pole, and they turned around and they made it all the way out, and they got their entire team safely into the South Pole and safely back out. They got all the glory, they got all the fame, and everybody made it back home safe. The first team actually made it to the South Pole 30 days after the second team did, right? Only to find out that someone else's flag was already planted there. They weren't the first explorers to make it to the South Pole, and now they had to turn around when the weather was even worse and march back out. And everyone on the team died except for the leader, right? So what are the differences between these two strategies, right? One team decided to get up and do a 20-mile march every single day. The other one decided to conserve their energy and go hard when things were good and conserve their energy when things were bad. Both strategies actually seem like a great idea, right? But we can learn from this that the 20-mile march is the best way to undertake any type of huge growth opportunity. So if we are trying to grow our church, we're trying to do something that's never been done before, that might even seem impossible for us, right? The best way to do that isn't to go hard in the paint some days and then to kind of chill back and not do anything else the other days. What we actually want to do is we want to map out and we want to have a 20-mile march that we're going to do every single day. All right, so number one is create your 20-mile march. Right, so what does this look like for you? Maybe you decide that you're going to dive into Facebook ads and you're going to start using social media marketing in order to get the word out about your church. And you just decide that every single day you're going to learn a little bit more about Facebook ads. This is actually what I decided to do at the tail end of 2013. So I started looking around. I was on staff at a church. I was a full-time youth pastor. And I just saw that, okay, it looks like the way that the world is going, everything is going towards social media. Right, and at the time, I didn't even really like social media, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'd get on Facebook and I actually didn't care what everyone wanted to say about their rant and their take on everything, like politically, or people that just get out there and just air all the stuff out about, their marriage, or they're talking about the president or what. I didn't love Facebook because so many people were on there just kind of airing out their opinion, and I didn't really love it, right? I wasn't even on Instagram at the time, right? But the more I looked at it, I said, wait a second, this is the way that the world is going, which means this is the way that the church is going. This is what we're going to have to do in order to reach more people for Jesus, and in order to share the gospel, is since the next generation is going and gravitating towards social media, then we have to as well. So I decided that I was going to take all of 2014 and I was going to study social media just a little bit every single day, and I was going to become a social media marketing expert. Now, I kind of chuckle at that now because here's the thing, social media changes so much that everything you learn right now, right, will probably be outdated in 3 months and completely ineffective in 6, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they're changing the algorithms so often. The things that were working now, right, may not work in 6 months or a year, right? Or you might have to slightly tweak them in order to continue being effective. So I kind of laugh at the fact that you can become a social media marketing expert in 12 months, but at the time, that was my goal. And lo and behold, I became as much of a social media marketing expert in 2014 as you can. I started listening to podcasts. I started watching YouTube videos. I bought online courses, right? I dove in and I learned everything that I could about social media marketing. Specifically, I decided to go all in on Facebook ads. So at back to school that year, after I've been studying all this content, my pastor comes to me and he says, okay, Abbo, we bought 500 backpacks. We filled them full of school supplies. We spent all this money and time buying these school supplies and stuffing them in backpacks and stuff, but we completely forgot to advertise this event because we would normally put it in like the local newspaper. We'd put an announcement on the marquee at the local elementary school, right? And let people know about our free back to school backpack and school supplies. So now we had this problem, right? Like we had 500 backpacks and we didn't have a way to get the word out to tell people about them. This was on a Wednesday, right? So I just said, okay, pastor, here's the deal. I've been studying these new things called Facebook ads. Man, let me give it a shot. Give me 150 bucks, right? Let me just try running 50 bucks a day on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and let me see if I can get the word out about our back to school outreach, right? Which we had no other options, right? So it wasn't a bad deal. 150 bucks, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but let's give it a shot. So I went in, I created a landing page on our website just talking about the back to school backpacks and the school supplies and everything that we're going to have at the event, and told everybody the time, and even had the address and a Google map linking to our church address. And then I ran the ad, right? We ran $50 a day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And I showed up Sunday morning about 3 hours before the event, and there was a line wrapped around our entire building. I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of people in line. And legit, when I first looked around and showed up, I was there 7 o'clock in the morning before the event that started at 10. And I thought, what are all these people here for? Like, is there a funeral today or a wedding, or why are they all lined up? And then it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, the Facebook ad. Right? Hundreds of people lined up 3 hours in advance at our church. They beat me to the church because they were lining up for free school supplies because of the Facebook ad, right? 150 bucks. So literally by the time we opened at 10, we had a bunch of free Chick-fil-A that was supposed to last all day long. It was gone in 10 minutes, right? We had lines of barbers and different hairstylists that had donated their time, right? About 12 to 15 of them that were gonna give away free haircuts. There were lines that were 15 or 20 people deep at every single one of them. We had a line going for the backpacks. We ran out of those 500 backpacks in about 45 minutes because that's how long it took to get people through the line. Then we had so many more people, we had to start taking down names and information of people that we didn't have school supplies for and say, hey, we're so sorry. We'll go buy more backpacks and school supplies. We'll call you and you can come and you can swing by and pick it up this week. So we ended up reaching hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 people that Sunday. And we showed them the love of Christ. We gave them a practical thing that they can actually use, school supplies, right? And just demonstrated how much Jesus loved them. And we did it all using this new technology, Facebook ads, that basically no churches were really using at the time in 2014. All of that because I decided to go on a 20-mile march and learn social media marketing so that we could use it for Jesus. And the first chance we had to, things absolutely exploded. So number one is you want to create your 20-mile march, figure out what it is that you're gonna put your hand to, and then do a little bit every single day. All right, before I get to my last couple of points on what are the factors responsible for church growth, man, would you like and subscribe to this channel? Man, whenever you like these videos, it actually helps YouTube's algorithm show this to more and more pastors and church leaders so we can help a lot more people. And whenever you subscribe, it'll make sure to let you know whenever we have new videos, which we're dropping new videos every single day, 5 days a week. All right, number two, this isn't happening to you, this is happening for you. Now, this is one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to make personally as a leader, that I realized every single time something happened to us, I had to reframe it and just say, okay, wait a second. This isn't happening to us, this is happening for us. If all of a sudden I got stuck in traffic on the way to a really important meeting, right, I'll just say, okay, I don't know what it is, but man, I'm convinced this isn't happening to me, this is happening for me, right? All of a sudden, if we had to go on a budget freeze, right, and it just turns out that giving was down and we didn't have the budget that we had planned on or that we needed in order to continue to reach people, right? I'll just say, okay, wait a second, this isn't happening to me, this is happening for me. And so I start to ask myself, how can I use this as an unfair advantage, right? Because believe it or not, your limited resources are your unfair advantage. Craig Rochelle says that limited resources are a breeding ground for innovation. right? So what happens if all of a sudden you don't have the budget? You have to start thinking, okay, how can we get a bunch of people here on Sunday if we don't have money to do advertising? And so you have to start to get a little bit creative. We had a men's ministry here a couple of years ago, and we started asking ourselves, okay, how can we do this? Obviously, we were going to do some Facebook ads, some different things, but we started saying, like, we can't reach the entire city in such a short period of time, even if we dump a bunch of money into Facebook ads, right? So we started to ask ourselves, man, what would this look like if we were cheating? And so one of the things we said is, well, if we were cheating, then we could just have Chick-fil-A hand out a card, like an actual like 4x6 postcard invite to our men's event, and they would just put it in every single to-go order of everybody that went through Chick-fil-A for the 2 weeks leading up to the event. So you know what we did? We reached out to Chick-fil-A and they said yes, right? Crazy. They actually, for like, I don't know how many tens of thousands of cards they handed out for us, but every single person that went through the Chick-fil-A line, regardless of whether they were a man or a woman, they got an invite to the Navy SEAL men's event that we were having at our church, right? So just understanding that was something that kind of came to us as we were thinking, okay, what are some of the limited resources that we have, right? Sometimes your limited resource might be time. We didn't have a lot of time. It was only 2 weeks up to the event. We only had a certain amount budgeted for Facebook ads, and I knew that wasn't going to be able to allow us to reach the entire city. We went all in and we figured out, okay, this is our unfair advantage. This isn't happening to us. This is happening for us. And we asked ourselves, how can we use this to our advantage? And we came up with an incredible way to reach a ton of people in a way we never had before. And we had the single largest men's event we had ever had in the history of our church. All right. And finally, number 3, every single person is a gift from the Holy Spirit. Now, I think this one sounds pretty obvious, but it's easy to kind of get lost in the day-to-day shuffle of everything that's going on, especially if you have a smaller church and you're constantly kind of caught up in the details of everything. Like, you're the one casting vision, and you're also preparing your message for Sunday, and you're doing all the hospital visits, and you're performing all the weddings and the funerals, right? In every single detail, right? You're probably cleaning the building and doing 27 other tasks at your church, right? A lot of times we kind of forget about just how much one person matters, right? The Bible talks about how the shepherd would leave the 99 to go after the one sheep, right? It talks about how the woman who had 10 coins and lost one, right, would search the entire house and go after that coin. Right? So who is your one, right? Who's your one person? So even if you're like, man, Chris, we only have 1 or 2 visitors a week, or maybe it's 1 or 2 visitors a month, right? Remember that every single person is a gift from the Holy Spirit. In the prodigal son, right, it talks about the father, he sprinted to his son who had been lost. Right? When those people come in on Sunday, man, maybe they're far from Jesus. Maybe they've never heard the gospel before. Maybe they used to be a Christian, right? But they haven't been in church in 5 years. Whatever it is, just remember that every single person is a gift from the Holy Spirit. And we just need to treat each and every person who comes into our church like they are a gift from the Holy Spirit. All right, so I have a free gift for you. If you head over to churchgrowthagency.com, or you can simply click on the link in the description below. We've actually got a free video over there that's going to show you how to use Facebook ads in order to attract new visitors and specifically bring in a steady stream of new guests every single Sunday. We'll see you soon.